You're watching another Nerd Stalker interview.
Okay, we're live. Good morning. Welcome to another Nerd Stalker interview. This is Greg Murray, aka Social Greg on Twitter for the Nerd Stalker Media Network. Today I'm pleased to talk with Dan Noh-Bai-ehs, CEO and co-founder of MobileX Labs, or MXL for short. A little bit about Dan. Dan graduated from Indiana University and has the entrepreneurship bug, and it's captured him ever since he graduated. Having created a few companies before MXL, and notably part of Indiana University alum Mark Cuban's Portfolio company. So, hey, good morning, Dan, or good afternoon, Dan. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us here on Nerd Stalker Live on Google Plus from Chicago.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, you want to add anything about yourself that you want to tell the Nerd Stalker audience?
Kind of gave the brief background there. Yeah, I'm originally from Brazil, actually. Moved to Indiana when I was a kid. Not kind of random. Ended up going to IU. Just moved to Chicago after college. But I did get the entrepreneurship bug like pretty early. I started a business when I was actually 15, so it was like my first real company, and it was actually a pretty big catalyst of what I'm doing today. Because it helped me like initially bootstrap like every other company I've started since then, including MobileX. So.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, and we'll probably get more deeper into that. So let's jump in and talk about MXL or MobileX. It's a great story. It started from a music blog when I was reading, and it was bootstrapped by your e-commerce site, as you just mentioned earlier. So tell us in a little bit more detail how that all kind of came about.
Sure. So I guess I'll start from the beginning. So like I said, by being from Brazil, I always kind of noticed a different amount of things in terms of in the e-commerce industry. It's really interesting that a lot of countries, for example, like an iPod or something might cost a couple $100 here, but the exact same item in Brazil might cost like $600. But I never understood that like they shipped it, imported it, paid the taxes, it would still like have like $150 margin there. So I started doing that, and it came out really well. Like I started with $1,000 when I was like, 15, and by the time I was a freshman in college, this business was doing a couple $1,000,000 a year, and we had expanded to a warehouse in the UK, and that was doing for the entire European Union. And then I moved to Australia when I was a junior in college and set up a warehouse there and did the same thing. And I still actually own that business. I don't really run it day to day anymore, but it's still like a business that's doing like a fair bit of revenue. But so when I went to college, though, I had like a lot of money from that business, like a lot of extra money. So I decided to start this music blog, and I just pretty much employed a lot of other college students that like at the time, it's better than working at like Subway or something. And I was running this college music site, and we were really well known for our playlists. Like that was like our music playlist. But this is in like 2010, 2011, and the iPhone has only been out for a couple of years. A lot like HTML5 wasn't quite there, so we had all of our playlists were in Flash, and so a lot of people couldn't really access it through their phone. So then they wanted me to make an app. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go make an app. And I never had any experience in mobile yet. So I went to these developers, and there wasn't that many of them yet, right? And they were like, even like my low bargain was like 20 grand, and I was like,
20 grand, wow.
Yeah, to make like a very simple app with like a couple APIs and things like that. And I was like, dude, you're like crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if anyone's been in like the media blog industry. Websites like that, even though we were doing like 1 million like a month, like hits and stuff, like it wasn't making that much money. Like like it doesn't really crush it unless you're doing other outside things. So in any case, kind of like stopped. Was like, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. And then I went and I actually was on Fiverr, out of all places. It's a really crazy story. Out on Fiverr of all places, and I wasn't really looking for like apps or anything, but I did see an ad that had just been posted like in the little on the right hand corner, like a little recent ads. It said I'll make iPhone app for $5, and I was like, I clicked it like thinking like, okay, zero expectations at all. Okay?
Yeah, for $5, of course.
And then I ended up telling the person my idea and things like that, and it turns out it was this kid from the UK, and this kid from the UK was like just starting out in iOS programming, and he was like, okay, well this idea is pretty complex for $5, but I'll do it for 7 gigs, which is $35. I was like, okay, my friend, I will pay you $35 to do it. And I honestly still didn't really have any expectations, clearly, right? I figured he would just probably like, he didn't give me something terrible. In any case, 6 weeks go by. It kind of gives me some updates along the way, and I then get a test flight, and like it wasn't the best thing I've ever seen, but like it was definitely a very good app, definitely the best $35 I've ever spent. So I marketed it through the site, and the app made like several thousands of dollars, right? And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like this app's not even that good, but like I can't believe this happened. So
Wow.
then I was like, well, maybe you should do some other contract work with me, and I did a couple other apps for a few other musicians I knew, and those apps did very well as well. And then that's when I kind of was like, well, maybe I should just create a software that allows people to kind of do this easily, because this isn't efficient that I have to go to each and every person and sell them on it and then customize it and do stuff like that. And I just hired this, like, naively hired this, like, I didn't know how old he was at the time, but I assumed like another college student, kind of my age, from the UK,
Mm.
to a monthly salary to kind of help me build it. And we figured, yeah, a few months we'll have an app builder. You know, we hired a couple other contractors to build the web version of it. And after like 6 months, we had a really terrible MVP, but we did. But it didn't do like nearly what we wanted it to do. But it turns out that this guy is actually my co-founder, right? Because the one thing that this person had that no one else had was the will to just become better than he was like the previous day. I think that there's a lot of like the best people that I meet, doesn't matter if they're a developer, just a friend of mine, or whatever, are the guys that like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to do it no matter what it takes. And he had this will, right? So bring him on as a co-founder. Eventually, I bring him actually to America under like the visa waiver program, but which only is like 3 months at a time.
Wow.
And then he moves in with me, and then we kind of start building MobileX. And then he came actually back 3 different times under that waiver thing. And then the third time, finally, what happened was they told us like, the border patrol was like, or the customs agent was like, well, if you come back again with this visa waiver, I'm not going to let you through. You have to get a real visa. The problem
Mm.
is that now I have to get like an H-1B, or I had to get this special visa because he dropped out of college to do MobileX at that point. So I had to get like this very special O visa that like Nobel Peace Prize wouldn't get, athletes, like whatever. And it literally like it wasn't until last month that he actually moved here under that visa. So we finally secured it for him and everything. But it was like a huge like pain in the ass. But that's kind of how MobileX started, and it was like really bootstrapped, and it wasn't until like and last year is when like kind of Mark came on board, and then we kind of had a few different app hits. A lot of people kind of come through, create apps, but the product itself was kind of clunky because it was still the MVP. So then, once we started making revenue though through our different like divisions and things like that, we decided and raised the money. We were like, let's scrap it, build it from scratch with all the feedback that we've gotten of all the thousands of people that have come through it, and then that's kind of like where we are today with this new product that's like very clean and easy to build. So.
Oh my gosh, this is crazy. I mean, it's a great story. I mean, I'm glad you gave us some depth there, because some of the things I read about you gave me some a little bit extra in-depth story to that, so I appreciate that. And we'll come back to Mark Cuban in a little bit, but let's talk about MobileX. And I mean, it's on a subscription model, right? It's almost like a Wix and Vibe or whatever you want to call it. Some of those other kind of web apps, but it's on the mobile side, right?
Sure. It's actually freemium. We're the first app builder that's offering like 100% native apps. Like all the apps are like our iOS are done in Objective C, our Android are in Java, and but it's free, right? So we have two plans. It's either free or it's $49 a month. And then we kind of have like a white label platform that if you like want to kind of almost create an agency like business, you can have like a non-branded MobileX apps for that. But yeah, so subscription model. so it really takes down the barrier and a lot of the headaches of like the cost and time and all that stuff to kind of create a really a really nice looking customized app that is pretty versatile.
And this could be deployable to iOS and Android, right?
Yes, yes.
Well, that's pretty cool, actually. So do you have to can you develop it once and say, okay, I want to deploy it to iOS and then Android? You have to have two separate subscriptions.
No, yeah, it's all encompassed in the plan. Yeah, so it's like
Wow.
for free, it's for Android and iOS, and then for the paid, you just get more like features and analytics and all these other stuff. But it's for both platforms, and we also have a iPad only version. Like everything's customized just iPad. It's not like just like the Zoom In 2X. Like we do everything like customized iPad as well.
Wow. So if I didn't know how to develop an app and I said, okay, let me give MobileX a try, how long would it take for me to get up and running, you feel?
Yeah, so this is one of the things that we really wanted to do. We strive very hard to make it the easiest build process we possibly could. So like it could take you literally as little as 5 minutes. Like we've built like certain scrapers. So if you put your website on there, like we'll pull in a lot of the content that you probably would be using anyways.
Wow.
And like 75% of the app would then be done. So really all you would have to then upload there is like your logo and then any other custom modules that you'd want to do, and then pick your color, and then it's ready to be deployed.
That's a great model.
Yeah, so we've really like taken it down and dumbfied it as much as we could. Like my motto has always been like, if my mother can make an app with my platform very easily without asking me like too many questions, then I know that it's possible for anyone to do it.
Well, yeah, I'm sure your mom could make an app pretty well. Probably, she's already made some, but
Yeah.
so yeah, let's shift gears a little bit to Mark Cuban. That's an interesting story, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the funding round you got recently too. So how did you meet Mark Cuban? How did you get hooked up? I mean, you guys are alumni, but is there a connection?
So it's pretty interesting. So our company has always been, we've had a very hustler mentality, like everything still do. And I've always been like that, and I kind of preach it to everyone else. So what happened was I had a certain reputation at Indiana University. I had a lot of different businesses and a lot of different things that I knew, and the website that I was running, a lot of people used. In any case, so I graduated, and then the year after I graduated, this guy reached out to me, and we had some mutual friends in common, and he had heard some of the stuff that I had done, and he's like our business dev, or a biz dev guy. His name's Michael Israel, and he reached out to me, and he's like, hey, interested in what you're doing, blah blah blah. So we had a phone call, and then he mentioned in the phone call that he had a relationship with Mark. I was like, okay. I was like, well, I didn't know. I had just met the kid, so I was like, some kids just say things, some people just say things, right? But he's like, honestly, I don't really introduce a lot of people to Mark, but I think that your business, I believe in like what you do, and I get whatever. So he then introed me to Mark, and then with that, that's kind of how that whole relationship developed. But he had a really interesting story of how he met Mark. So he's the type of person that he's like very good at like getting a hold of like very famous people, right? That are very hard to get a hold of. And the way that he kind of does that is, at first he sent Mark like I think like countless emails, and Mark didn't reply and stuff like that. And then he sent one that was like super scandalous. That was like, I don't know if it was exactly like this, but it was something along the lines of like naked pictures emerged of Mark Cuban at Indiana University, like something really like out there.
Oh my God.
And then Mark and then he's like, I'm just kidding. And then Mark kind of sends him some shitty reply like, hey, like, you're weird. Stop emailing me, essentially, like, and it put it in a polite way. But then I think like they kind of got added on GChat or something. I don't know. And then he kind of just every once in a while would chat Mark. Anyways, fast forward, nothing really kind of happens there. A few months later, Mark is he comes to IU a lot, because he's still very involved with Indiana University. He like loves the school, and he was walking down Kirkwood or something like our main street, and Michael saw him and it's like, hey, Mark, it's Michael, Israel, right? And then Mark's like kind of just gave his like, oh, okay, great, yeah, whatever, nice meeting you, and then just kept walking. But he's like, wait, and he's like, wait, what was your name? And then he's like, Michael Israel, right? And then Mark comes and then like gives him a big hug, and then's like, you are one persistent son of a bitch, right? And then and then Michael then sends him a follow-up email that night, and he's like, hey, thanks for like whatever, like saying hi or whatever. Let me know if you have any extra tickets to he was there for a Mavs game, to the Pacers Mavs game.
Oh yeah, right.
And at that point, then Mark was like, okay, yeah, there'll be a ticket at will call. And he's like, you should come. So then him and Mark watched the game together, and that's kind of how he developed a relationship with Mark. And then therefore, that relationship was how I got introduced to it.
That's crazy. Gosh, yeah. I mean, but you know, it kind of matches the kind of persons that you're surrounding yourself with. They're all tenacious.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's I think it's super important. You know, a lot of things in my life have happened that way. Like, that's why, like, when he told me that story, because I was like, how did you meet Mark, right? And then he told me that story, and it reminded me a lot of like the stories that I had from when I was younger, because I used to like reach out to like the CEO of like, you know, multi-billion-dollar companies for my electronics business, and like, hey, I'm an 18-year-old kid and I run this business, and I a lot of times got connected with these massive distributors and they would give me the same pricing that companies that were buying like $1 million worth of phones like for the same price, you know, and so I really like related to the way he did it, and that's like why we brought him on as a biz dev guy and stuff like that. So
yeah, finding the right people to surround yourself, at least creating a team, is very important in the startup world, huh?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So, wow. So, like Mark Cuban helped you directly. You talked to him on the phone once in a while, or how's that whole thing work being a portfolio company of Mark Cuban?
Yeah. So Mark is he's like an animal, man. He reads all his emails, right? I think he's like a creature. He has like his own rules about like the way he lives life, how he operates, and everything like that. Mark is very big on like he doesn't take phone calls like unless like he's publicly said to us many times, and not just us, but like I know a lot of his portfolio company CEOs, and he like the commissioner of the NBA is like one of the few people to take a phone call with, right? Outside of the
of course.
But, we typically like, you know, respect them, and you know, we do a lot of emails or GChat or something like that, because I know that that's the best way to communicate with him, and I know that if I don't get a reply within a few hours, that it either got lost in the bunch and I'll send it again. But he's always like very good about email and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, the fact that he does it by himself. I mean, I don't know if he has a reader, but I mean,
I know. I'm not. I don't know if it's like he has an assistant or what. I really don't think he does, because at least all the replies I get, because I see all the misspellings and like all the, you know, like him stuff. So I'm pretty confident it's him.
Wow, that's crazy. So you guys only talk via either email for advice or GChat, huh?
Yeah, and like someone with like Mark, I know the guy's busy, and he's not usually like, you know, I don't waste his time with things. So everything I send him out is very thought out. Like, I don't like just hit him up, just, hey Mark, like what do you think I should do? And it's something like trivial, because you know, at the end of the day, like he has like I think that my life is busy sometimes, and like I can only imagine what his life is like, you know.
Yeah, and does he have like a layer underneath him that you interact more with, or is it just really directly with him since being a portfolio company?
No, usually it's directly with him. Like the only time that we deal with people that aren't him, it's like if we're dealing with like one of the benefits of being a portfolio company is we get a lot of random stuff. Like he's invested in so many other companies that like we get like I get so much hosting for free. Like it's like saved us like tens of thousands of dollars. And then just like a bunch of like random stuff, you know. So with that, then sometimes we'll deal with like, you know, whoever the guy that's in charge of the BD there or something like that. But if it's like something about our company or like what we're doing or something like that, then it's like usually directly with him.
He's one of the few people I only see, you know, I only see him on Shark Tank, right? So or other interviews, right? And he's one of the few people that actually amongst that group talk about, you know, I need to get you connected with my other portfolio company, or he'll say something like that. So it's like his mind is always saying, okay, how can I use this piece here to do something better for this other piece, or how do I use that other piece to make this piece that I'm talking with better, that type of thing.
And I think that's what's really interesting. I think that's why he created the portfolio, the Mark Cuban Portfolio company, because they like asked us, do you want to be a part of this network? And a lot of companies do end up doing it, and a lot of his companies end up helping one another out. And I think that's his philosophy. He's I mean, clearly, like, he has a lot of assets and a lot of money so he can invest in stuff. But I think he really diversified himself by, like, I just don't even know how many companies to invest in, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, but the fact that he could keep tabs on them, it just shows how smart this guy is.
Like, the efficiency and the phone calls is, like, if you think about him, he's the type of guy that his time is more valuable than the money that he's putting in. So he's very, like, he pick and chooses, and I think that's why he really focuses on the email, or like, the instant chatting and stuff like that, because that way he can, like, keep it, like, quick and efficient, and do it when he has, like, 10 seconds or an extra couple minutes to reply. So.
After hearing your whole story here, it was interesting, and it looks like you just announced that you got some funding from the Garland Fund, right?
Yes.
So I got to ask you, you've been doing this Bootstrapped, you got Mark Cuban behind you, and then you get this round of funding. What's going on? What do you think? Is it going towards marketing and other growth of the company?
Yeah. So we did about. So before we even raised the funding, we did like about $1.5 million in revenue. And did I lose you, or are you there still?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. You're like frozen, so I was making sure.
Yeah,
in any case, so we did like $1.5 million in revenue before we even did this funding. So we're pretty good on cash, actually. But the reason that we're kind of like we raised the round is that we really wanted to expand on this product, and kind of take it to the next level. We have, like, a lot of other products coming out at the end of this year that kind of they kind of build upon our app builder concept. And in order to execute that properly and, like, acquire the users that we want to acquire and market it properly, then I felt like it was like the right time and the right decision to kind of take this funding, and then grow it the way that, in an aggressive fashion, to then, like, parlay it into, like, a bigger round and stuff like that.
Wow, that's cool. So, wow, you guys have a great story, and I really appreciate it. I'll close off the interview because I know you're busy too, and I appreciate the time you've taken here. So, how can the listeners get a hold of you and get to know more about what MobileX is doing?
Sure. Well, my email is dan@mobilexlabs.com. You can follow me on Twitter, hashtag or @Noh-Bai-ehs, and then I'm usually pretty public person in terms of the internet. So if you Google my name, I'm sure you'll find a way to send me a message or something like that.
Oh yeah, we'll figure it out. But anyway, yeah, we'll put your contact on here. But anyway, thank you again. And that was Dan Noh-Bai-ehs of MobileX Labs, driving the DIY space of mobile apps. Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter, for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and be careful out there. Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. This is Greg Gloria, aka Social Greg on Twitter, for the Nerd Stalker Media Network, where we believe in tech, startups, design, and you. Thanks again for joining us, and be careful out there.